Welcome to the Raj Kotecha Show, number one podcast in Dubai. And we are joined this week by, as usual, co-host Vic. Vic, what's going on?
What is going on? What a great show today, man. Like, I know you're going to introduce our special guest, but this was a cool show, man.
Yeah, we covered a lot today. And it's, of course, the first time ever in history of the show that we've decided to record 2 episodes in the week. Will it go back to 1? Will it become 3? We'll see. Depends on how soon we can get this episode out. Speaking of which, we've got Chief Hobnob Officer, all the way from the Netherlands, leveraging all of our celebrity relationships, right back from the Russell Peters sold out tour out there. Alex is here. What's up, Alex?
I'm doing good. It was a great show today.
Good. Just copied what Vic said. I love it. He's such a chronically lazy turd, this guy. I can't even believe it.
I have no creativity in me right now.
He's sinking back and back into that little corner. It wasn't
Right?
there at the beginning of the show. You'll see.
Alex,
this corner?
He's sinking back. Yeah.
Alex is just this remote. Alex is the Venn diagram of everything you don't want in a human being. He's firstly part-time and he's remote. He is the point where the 2 most useless circles in employment meet, and Alex's face is just where those circles overlap. Good to have you back, Alex. Alex is going to give us a breakdown of going to Russell Peters sold out show. Russell Peters sold out show, you'll hear, is the smallest one for Russell Peters, and yet it's still bigger than 99.9% of other comics that are out there touring. We'll get a full breakdown of that. And then we've got our man on the show. We had him on. We were originally thinking, let's get him to break down what's going on with Dubai this week, because he was out and about and I was obviously traveling. But he was here whilst I was in Zanzibar. He hit up the 50 Cent show at the Coca-Cola Arena. Sal is here. What's going on, Sal?
What's going on, man? Good to be here. Long time listener, first time caller.
I like it. I'll take it. Yeah. So Sal breaks down 50 Cent at the Coca-Cola Arena. Super detailed breakdown. You guys will get to enjoy the same kind of breakdown that I would have got probably tomorrow morning, because me and Sal go and do 5K walks every morning in Business Bay. On top of that, this week, not only are we breaking down the Russell Peters show and 50 Cent at Coca-Cola Arena, but we're going to get an overview of Big Inay's birthday. Inay hit 9 years old. Congratulations, Vic.
Thank you. Yeah, what a whirlwind day getting stuff ready for his birthday yesterday at home.
Yeah,
but it was all worth it in the end. Man, this was crazy. We had loads of topics that we went through today, like Serato's new update, which is really exciting for DJs and like the live environment of DJing. We talked about financial news coming out of Dubai with Huspy, which is a big prop tech company disrupting the industry. We went into some hospitality talk as well, like deep into hospitality. So Sal, it was good to have you here for the hospitality talk with Wynn announcing the new hotel in Ras Al Khaimah. Where else was there, Raj?
Yeah, Wynn was also super half pregnant on the whole, are they gaming or are they gambling? We deep dive into that. On top of that as well, we finally get into the thing that Twitter nerds have been asking for a long time. We deep dive on the edit button on Twitter. What does it mean? Does anybody care? And of course, when it comes to does anybody care, we deep dive into Elon Musk's robot coming out conveniently 2 weeks in the news cycle ahead of him going to court for trying to buy Twitter for more money than, let's be honest, it's worth. And then a little bit on Kim Kardashian promoting cryptos and getting slapped with a fine that probably is the equivalent of a lunch for her. So not too bad. We break that down. And then we got some content recommendations, including one that's going to be happening in the next couple of hours with our friend, well, not our friend, but a guy we worked with before, DJ Cassidy, wrapping up Past the Mic. Tonight, we're going to break down what he's going to be doing for his final ever Past the Mic. And then have we finally hit the emancipation of Will Smith in the eyes of society, the streets, the comedy world, and the entertainment world? We break it all down on this episode of the Raj Kotecha Show. If there's any stories that you like, go straight to the comments on YouTube. Let us know whilst you're there. Hit the subscribe button, and likes and all that kind of good stuff is appreciated. Podcast gang, 5-star rating and reviews, wherever you listen to this podcast, but especially Spotify, where you also get this on video, is super appreciated. Alex, I know you've got some edits to do because there was some bad language used in this. We'll figure it out. Do a great job on that and run the theme music. Okay, guys, welcome to the show. We are ready to rock. It's the first time ever that we're doing a second episode in the week because the editorial team has just been smashing content on the group, and we've just got so much more stuff to talk about. And even us internally here at Creative Content Agency, we're just getting our systems in place where we can put out more content because there's so much incredible stuff going on. And so we're going to start off with out and about in Dubai. And I can't think of a better person to start with than the person in the hot seat today, because I was out of the country in Zanzibar when this went down, which was 50 Cent at Coca-Cola Arena. Now, you were there, Sal, right?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Tell us about it. I think you and I were both at the original concert that 50 did when he toured this, which was about 17, 18 years ago with Fabulous. Were you at that one in London?
Yes. Wembley Arena, September 2003. Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the same one in I believe it was Manchester. All right, so how was it? How was 50 Cent in Dubai at Coca-Cola Arena?
It was pretty good. 50 Cent, I'm sort of like give or take. He's not like a guy that normally it's an essential watch, but it was Friday night. Initially, I'd spoken to a lot of people to see if they wanted to come down and check it out. People were sort of like here or there, which keep that in mind as I tell the story later on. But it was Friday evening, and I was like, I didn't have anything to do, and I was just curious. I was like, let me just go online and see if there's tickets left. And there was a few tickets that were like in the upper section that were like 200 or something. So I was like, all right, I'm just like down the road from Coca-Cola Arena in Business Bay. Why don't I just go down there and check it out? Ended up bumping into a lot of people that I know from in around the city that were there. But it was a really good show. It was probably the most concise 1 hour plus 15-minute encore set that I've seen an artist do. I don't think he left anything out other than like, those mixtape records that like he's rapping over other people's stuff. But even then, like surprisingly, he did like mixtape cuts, like Southside, that you wouldn't expect him to do, which made for some interesting conversations with some casuals afterwards. But yeah, it was a really good show. Getting there was a little bit of a nightmare. Friday night, the show officially started at 8 p.m., but he got on stage about like 10 past 9. So you imagine on Friday night, people are coming out of work, plus people are getting their weekend started. You know how Sheikh Zayed Road is anyway. And I actually think that's going to be an interesting, not issue, but maybe a challenge going forward, because Coca-Cola Arena is still pretty new, right? Opened up, nothing happened during the pandemic. So it's just now this year getting used to doing big events. It'll be interesting to see how they control traffic for these type of large names doing events. But yeah, no, like got in there and like he had Tony Yayo with him and Uncle Murder, who I didn't realize is part of G Unit now.
Oh, I've started seeing Uncle Murder on the. I thought I saw Uncle Murder on the latest Math Hoffa interview, and there's never been a Brooklyn guy, as far as I know, in G Unit. And Uncle Murder is like 1000% East New York, Brooklyn, like all the way. So he's in G Unit now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't really paid attention to what's happening. I know Lloyd Banks is. So what happened? I think the story was that at some point, maybe 10 years ago, G Unit effectively, I think, dismantled.
Yeah.
And like, he basically kind of said everyone can go off and do their own thing. Banks kind of retired, and then he's had this very interesting resurgence in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to go into that underground, revitalized New York scene, doing stuff with like Griselda and Rome Streets, and knocked out 2 really good albums. But then obviously, 50 has decided to like just do this global tour again. Which is interesting because he doesn't have like an album out or anything. He hasn't released an album in 8 years. Last thing he did was an independent album. But like he's released singles every couple of years that kind of stream pretty well. So I actually thought coming out of this concert, and I'd heard rumors like online and stuff that he's thinking about getting back into recording an album. Don't know if it's going to be with a major. He could go independent. But he still got an audience. It was interesting, like going there, the audience was still pretty young. There was people my age and, there's casual people. There's, he's obviously attracted a lot of fans from selling so many records, standing next to Eminem. But he resonates with the young crowd. And to that point, when he did the concert, like he did his he did the records that he did with Chief Keef and Pop Smoke.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and we've seen that, you know, in the last couple of years, you know, like Pop Smoke talked about how 50 was a big inspiration to him. So, you know, and 50 latched on to that, you know, kind of worked with him. I think he helped with one of the posthumous albums that came out a couple of years ago. So he did the record with that, and he did, you know, he was on the remix of Love Sosa, which came out a long time ago. So he did that. Yeah, I mean, I could just talk into it like a little bit in terms of how the set went. You know, he opened up with What Up Gangsta, did Hate It or Love It, Candy Shop, Magic Stick, Just a Little Bit, Out of Control remix, you know, shouted out Prodigy. It was quite impressive because the nice thing, when you get to a certain age, you're like, I want to go to a rap show. I want it to be done at a reasonable time. I don't want to get home, which is the most un-hip hop thing. But, you know, when we're of our generation who are pushing like 40 and stuff, it's like, yeah, it'd be nice to end at a reasonable time. So he did all the hits. And then the encore was interesting because he finished with In the Club. And then he went and people were screaming for an encore. And it's been a minute since I've been to a rap show where, like, you know, when a guy leaves, people are shouting for an encore set. He comes out. But his encore set was interesting because I was like, he's kind of done all the hits, right? So what has he got left over? He just went straight to the streets. And it was quite interesting because I think there was people like me and a few other hip hop heads that were like, yeah, you know, we know Wanksta, we know Hustler's Ambition, you know, from the Get Rich or Die Trying thing.
Yeah.
You know, Southside, he did those type of records. And
Wow.
and Tony Yayo did So Seductive.
Right.
So it was interesting because I bumped into a few people at the show and was talking to people coming out of City Walk. And there was this one girl who was there. There was a lot of people in the VIP suites, a lot of corporate people who came in, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, like, you know, white collared folks that, you know 50 from In the Club. And it was like, they were like, man, but I don't understand why he did these records. You know, like, I don't recognize them. I'm like, oh, you don't know.
Yeah.
But I would say if you're a 50 Cent G-Unit fan, you know, he's doing this tour globally. I think he's in Finland. He's doing a European leg right now. You should definitely check it out. You should definitely check it out.
What was it? Two questions. How full was the venue? What would you say, just to eyeball it, what would you say were the numbers? And talk to me about the Coolio tribute, which really got me to pay attention looking at your Instagram.
Yeah, so this weekend was quite interesting because I think everyone who had a show, whether it was a concert or a club, definitely was paying tribute to Coolio. Answering your first thing, so I would say it was about 90% full.
Okay.
Like the floor and the lower tier seats were full. And then what was interesting is, like, I discovered that there were still tickets left in the upper tier that only like one commercial website was selling at a decent price. So I think what happened was, I think everyone on that Friday scooped up those upper tier sort of seats.
Yeah.
So when I got there at like 8:30, 8:40, and I went to my section. It looked empty to begin with, but then as we got closer, and then even when the show started, more people started coming in, and then it looked packed. So I would say it was like 90 to 93% full. And then, yeah, to respond to the Coolio thing. So like everyone, you know, Rick Ross was in town as well, doing a couple of club shows, which was, that made for an interesting weekend.
Interesting observation, right? That off the Ross 50 thing, Ross is doing clubs and 50 is doing one arena and in and out.
Yeah, I mean that's Dubai. And it was funny. I was talking to our mutual friend Simon, and you know he's in the hospitality industry, so he knows where all the artists stay and where all the artists go. And he did observe that like G Unit and MMG were both in JBR at one point, which I was just like,
really?
First of all, that's very Inspector Clouseau of him to like put that piece together. But I just had this visual of like both of them on like blue water, like both on floats.
Just on the aquatic. What's it called? That aquatic. What's that thing that we did, Vic?
Yeah, that assault course thing on,
Yeah.
on JB.
Just-
Just all of them just like clashing on there.
No, but so that's cool. And the Coolio tribute was good.
So
It definitely made me feel a type of way. I forwarded you. I don't know if you noticed who saw your stories that day, but I
Yeah.
forwarded your stories to like Little X and Cardinal and all that. I was like, yo, man, like
Right.
looks like it really went down. If you checked out those stories, a lot of my hip hop friends would have probably watched that.
Yeah. So it was like, I mean, like it was one point where like 50 took a quick like change, and like it was Yayo and Uncle Murder who were leading it. And they were just like, put a peace sign in the air for Coolio. They did Gangsta's Paradise. They had him, on the video backdrop and everything. And then I don't know if a fan did this, or I don't know if it was someone in the Coca-Cola arena, but they had these 3 or 4 really, really big beach balls that were like being tossed around the crowd. And I sat there and I said to myself, only in Dubai would they be like floating beach balls being passed around the crowd during an R&B.
It kind of felt like they were left over from a Coldplay concert or like an Avicii show or something like weird. Like it's weird to put beach balls out, but you know what? Technically not wrong. Coolio's a West Coast guy. He makes music for the beach and there's that kind of stuff. I'm not really mad at it. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's not too bad. So it's a good show overall, right? So that's good to know. And so that's wicked, man. We really wanted to kind of get those insights. Otherwise, out and about this week, what's been going on? Vic, big week for you at home. You didn't need to leave the house because you're having a party in the house.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah. So again, more family stuff. But Sunday, I went to this wicked boat party. We were invited by a couple of friends out to a boat party. They do like an annual trip. They have friends from out of town that come and visit them, so they always hire a boat, just like a 12-seater little boat. Did 3 hours with them. That was pretty cool. I haven't done that for, I don't know, man, like maybe 3 or 3.5 years. I haven't been on a boat out here, which is, not a Dubai thing, but
yeah,
that was cool. But yesterday was a big day. Yesterday was my son Inay's 9th birthday. So he obviously gets mentioned on the show a lot. So happy birthday, Inay. So he was up 5 o'clock in the morning, excited as anything. I had a big day on Sunday. So waking up at 5 o'clock yesterday was a bit challenging. But yeah, man, it was cool. Woke up, gave him his present, just the whole happy birthday thing. And then whilst he was out at school, we got, you were around as well, Raj, and we got the builders in. We redecorated his playroom to make it into like a little gaming room, like a little YouTuber stroke gaming room. So we took down all the old kind of wall hangings and paintings. We put like neon lights of like the PlayStation controller neon lights. We put a gaming rug. We put like stickers up, and then round his couch, I say we, the nanny at home, stitched the LED lights all the way around the back of the sofa and underneath. So when you switch it on, it backlights. You don't see the lights until you switch it on, and it backlights onto the wall, a bit like what you've got there, Raj, behind you. And we were going to put it up on the wall, but this was Raj's idea. So he came home after school and he just went mental. Like he loved it. So yeah, we did that, cake cutting, dinner, and then the big parties this weekend with all his friends on Saturday.
Yeah, good vibes, man. Happy birthday, Inay. Wicked day yesterday. Really hectic in terms of like, because there's in Dubai, workers and stuff, sometimes they come on time, sometimes they don't, but it was like a 3-hour turnaround. It was like one of those like home refurbishing programs, like, I don't know, that taking 100-kilo cupboard up those stairs and everything. It was quite something, but it was really, really dope and a good day yesterday. So happy birthday to him. So now he's back in full motion on the other side of the planet. The chief hobnob officer was back at it. He went yesterday. Where, Alex? Where did you go yesterday?
So yesterday I went to Rotterdam with one of my friends called Nick Torres, who both Raj and all 3 of you have met actually.
Sex doll Nick.
There we go.
He's been on the show before.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, we've talked about him on the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, yesterday we went. So we're both living in Amsterdam. We went to a Russell Peters show in Rotterdam, which is about 40 minutes away. And yeah, it was very, very good experience. It was quality.
So
That-
what
go on.
was it? It's part of the Act Your Age tour, isn't it? Still.
Yeah, still the
Okay.
Act Your Age tour, and they said they were going until July. So until then, same tour.
And this is your third time seeing it.
Yeah, both times in Dubai and now third time
Cool.
here in the Netherlands.
So tell us about it. Was it packed? Was it busy? How was the show?
Yeah, so 2,000 tickets sold. I think there's a few seats open, but not very many, at least from where I could see. Yeah, it was very nice. Like always, amazing crowd work from Russell. So like nothing to complain about there. New opening comedian. So it's no longer Alangon. Now this time it was someone who went by the name of what was his name again? Adam Fieldsky. From the UK, but lives in Amsterdam.
So okay, so good. So basically, sold out show. And
Mm-hmm.
how I've never seen Russell in front of a European audience. I've only seen him in like the UAE or in front of an English speaking audience, specifically in the UK. What was it like in front of a European audience? Firstly, I'm assuming that everybody in there was like English competent and kind of got the jokes, or like what's that vibe like when you see him in Europe?
No, but that's the thing. Yeah, that I was wondering the same thing before going, but once you get there, he even asked the crowd to scream if they were Dutch, and like you like barely hear anybody scream, and then he's like, everybody else like something else, and everybody screams. Like there's very, very little amount of Dutch people, so like humor, like everybody understands his humor, where he's coming from. Now, I think there are some things that don't work as well that worked in Dubai that wouldn't work in the in here in Holland. Just jokes that are more related to like purely like America.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Europe's away from that compared to like being in the UAE, you still get those American references.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Nice.
other than that, yeah, it was perfect.
And backstage?
Backstage was very nice. This time he actually did a full-on meet and greet, so there was a bunch of people there. But yeah, Clayton recognized me, of course, and then just let Russell do his thing with the meet and greet fans, and me and Nick chilled with Clayton for a while, and then went backstage. Super chill.
That's so funny. It's so grown up. It's just like, just let him do his thing with the meet and greet. We'll catch up with him afterwards. That's a real like sign of maturity. It's like, I'm not just gonna go over and get my picture and say what's up. I'll let all the peasants do what they've got to do, and then I'll link him up. I'll link him afterwards. And how's Russell?
Very good, very good. He's doing very good. The day before he had a show in Belgium, and before that it had been 6 weeks. He was off for a month and a half, so he even felt like it was like a bit like, you know, weird being back on stage after a month off. But yeah, he's doing very good. He's doing.
Did you see a difference between the massive show here in Dubai and a smaller 2,000? Because we've seen both in terms of like the capacity of the venue. Did you feel there's a difference?
I couldn't like notice that big of a difference, because like I think the only way you would be able to tell is through like, actually I don't know how you'd be able to tell during a comedy show, because like he's just picking on people that are in front of him, for example, for the crowd work, and like no matter how big the arena is, like he's just going to pick people that are in front of him.
Yeah, I think it comes down to things like cadence and rhythm and timing and pacing and things like that. When you've got a bigger arena, you know, you've got to wait for the sound to catch up and the laughs to catch up and all that kind of stuff. So you do treat it differently, but yeah, you may not notice, because he's obviously he's a professional.
Yeah, I at least couldn't like tell a big difference to the point where like it made me realize it.
It's also funny as well that like Russell's smallest show is bigger than almost 100% of other comic shows. Like for him to do 2,000, I mean, he was doing 3,000 people in 2006. So when he goes and does 2,000, we're like, that's one of the smallest Russell Peters shows I've ever heard of, at 2,000 people, and that's still bigger than literally over 99% of comics on the planet, if not 99.5% of comics, what they can pull in.
Yeah, for sure. Because even it like you can tell it's a small Russell show, because they only had 4 people from their team there yesterday.
Okay, who else was there?
It was just Clayton, Russell, this I can look it up, but I'll let you know later. There's one security guard who I have never seen before, a new
Yeah.
one, and yeah, that's it. It was just 4 of them.
Nice, cool.
Starting from scratch, wasn't there? Nobody.
Oh, really? Scratch wasn't there?
No. They just had music playing at the start. That's it.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah,
good.
it was a very small show. Yeah.
I'm glad you got to enjoy it. That's good. Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, big up to Clayton for holding it down for the gang as always. And
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
What did Sexdoll Nick think?
He thought it was amazing because it was his first time going to a Russell show and also first time going to a comedy show in general. It was his first time going to one. So for him, it was an amazing experience. He really loved it.
Sick.
Yeah.
Wicked. Nice, cool. Well, speaking of DJs and starting from scratch, me and him had a couple of texts back and forth this week because it's been a big week for DJs. For those of you who have DJed, no DJs, dabbled with DJing, you'll be very familiar with the brand Serato. It's the DJing software that allows you to play MP3s. It's the DJing software that means that you'd have to carry physical discs, CDs, records to the club. When you see a DJ with a laptop in front of them changing songs, there's a high chance they're using Serato. It's become the industry standard when it comes to music. And they've done something which is quite huge this week, which is they're going to allow DJs to separate parts of the song on the fly whilst they're DJing, which means pulling out the instrumental, pulling out the drums, pulling out the melodies. They've called it stems. Is it really stems? Break it down for us, Vic.
Yeah, so what they've done is they've put this new update on, which is they've called it stem separation. So it's the ability at the touch of a button, mind you, at the touch of a button to separate out the drums, the melodies, the vocals, and why am I having a brain fart? What's the fourth one?
I maybe just pull up the
the vocals, the bass, the drums, and the melodies.
Something.
Yeah. So whereas they're not actually stems in their truest form, and stems being the individual parts of the songs, these are essentially like an emulation of stems. But from the video, from their kind of marketing video that they put out, it really does sound like it is. You can't really get any better than what you've got then, rather than aside from having the actual stems themselves. So when it comes to kind of remixing on the fly, building new records on the fly whilst you're DJing on your set, this is something that you couldn't do before. And now this is going to change the game completely for DJs.
Yeah. So
last time,
me and Scratch were texting, I came across an app called Moises. And I texted Scratch, the app, and I said, thank me later. And he was like, what is this? I said, just download it and play with it. So let me give you an example. Moises is the same exact software that Serato has, but on your phone. So I'm going to play a song. Hopefully I'm not going to get the podcast taken down, but let's go. So I can change the key back and forth. Then on top of that as well, I can isolate parts of the record. So I can go straight to just the drums. It sounds dope, right? You can play with just that. I can bring in the bass or just rock the bass.
Yeah.
Or, but this is the problem. When you get to melody, it sounds a bit wobbly. And I've always noticed it more on the vocal.
Yeah, you can hear it back a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is that I was just, obviously before the show, I was saying I used to work in the media technology music space. I went to Mobile Music Con in Miami, and I went to Cannes, the media conference in Cannes in 2000, I would say probably 6. And obviously everybody had their little displays out, and they were like, listen, we believe this thing. And I feel like they called it MP4, not the video. I feel like they called it MP4 because there was 4 layers to it. And Vic, I remember coming back from France at the time and telling you about it and being super gassed and being like, yo, they're actually going to release MP3s, but called MP4s, and there'll be 4 layers to it. And you can just isolate whatever you want. And the record companies will start releasing songs layered. So by default, when you play them inside your then iPod, they'll play like the full record. But in other softwares, you'll be able to isolate it. I guess it never happened. It was probably too much too soon. The industry was still going through massive piracy. So to put out files that are as easy to pirate as MP3s, but with so much more richer data, and the file sizes were much bigger, the industry probably did a U-turn on that. But it's a technology I've seen before. Of course, if you've ever seen a producer in a studio and you see that they've got lots of different layers on their screen, those things are effectively stems. They're the different layers of the song that once they stack up, they make a full song. But, you know, first and foremost, it was nice to see our friends in the video. So it was really, really nice to see Jazzy Jeff in there. Great. Of course, he is the OG endorser of anything that happens in music when it comes to DJing. And then our friend DJ Caper from around the way. Huge DJ, built her career in Cambridge. And we've just seen her like leave blood on the dance floor so many times in the UK. We've even DJ'd with her for our friend Mira Patel's 30th birthday back in 2010. And that's the last time. And actually, no, I was with Caper in Brooklyn in 2019. Me and Kish went out to just see her just murder it there as well. So great to see her in there. There was another lady in there as well that I've not seen in the campaign. And then Scratch Bastard, who I've had a few back and forth messages with about bringing him here to Dubai. So they chose the right people, man. They chose the right people to get you excited. Are you excited as a DJ? Or, I mean, as a DJ who doesn't DJ much, Vic, are you excited?
Yeah, I am. And I tell you why. So first of all, just Caper's a killer, like always has been. And yeah, I'm glad to see her on there. And obviously Jeff and Scratch. But so I'm excited. So this isn't the first time it's been done. I think Virtual DJ did it before.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had the step player earlier this
Right,
week.
exactly. But Serato will just do it better. You know, you just know it and you can see it. Plus, it's endorsed by all these great guys. Why am I excited? I'm excited because when I DJ, the way I DJ is I DJ definitely to the crowd, and I'm not the most adventurous technical DJ. Does that make sense? So I know when you play, Raj, you know, you want to kind of hit that moment where you got the loop and all that kind of stuff, where it's just playing and echo and you know, you want to create that moment. Mine is much more of a richer set overall. Yours is kind of rich, but like you have these like moments that you want to really have like shine out. And I think this, based on my kind of older music production days and my music technology degree days and all that, this kind of sits really well with me in my brain. And I think for me, I'm going to be able to experiment more whilst I'm DJing. I have to practice, but I think I believe that I'll be able to experiment more while I'm DJing. I feel more natural to it.
I think your sets are more like, not rich, I'd say classic, in the sense that choose the right records, get in and out. Whereas for me, if I see a moment where they're overlapping and I can double down or triple down on that moment, which is firstly by creating 2 loops where both these songs are really in sync, and then start tearing them apart with effects and things like that. That's what I like doing, is to really take that moment into like 8K. Do you know what I mean? And I'm excited about it. I'm not excited about it in the sense that where I am in my life right now and the fact that we've not, although we are talking about some party in Q4, you know what I mean? Like at some point this year, but we don't have a venue booked. I think it would be nice in Dubai for us to leave a 5-month gap between parties. The last one being my birthday, June 25th. I think if we come back in with the party around November, could be really, really interesting, with no pressure, lots of time to play with these new Serato features and lots of time to hit people with some. Alex, you were about to say some shit.
No, I think Sal was about to say something.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that it's going to be fun to see the DJs who are also producers commercially or within the industry kind of cook in real time. Like I just take someone like Just Blaze, who I think does more DJing now than producing. I don't know for sure. But like I've seen him chop up a sample, totally flip it, right? We've seen that with a guy like Just. For him at like, I don't know, like at a Fool's Gold event or something like that, to see him kind of cook in real time, it's going to be very interesting. And I think, you know, to a certain extent, it's going to graduate a lot of DJs into producers, maybe, depending on how they use it going forward,
It is. It's a low barrier to entry to get into some of the elements of production. Now, Serato does have a production software as well, and I know that that's onboarded a lot of people when it comes to Serato. But I think it's gonna be quite interesting. What I did see, and I think what you might have just heard on that music that I was just playing as well, is that it's much easier to isolate a drum than it is a vocal, because a vocal effectively could be anything, whereas a drum has a sharp, if you imagine it like a series of waveforms, they're much more sharper, like almost like triangular shapes that are going through the waveforms, much more defined, much more easy to isolate. Whereas if you're actually truly playing stems, the vocal is completely separate, the drums are separate, the melody and the bass are completely separate. So you can truly isolate them as they were recorded in the studio. But they are almost doing like a, what did you say, Vic? It's like it's not isolation, but it's like a
emulation.
It emulates isolation. Yeah.
Yeah. But the point being is that the way that they're doing it, I don't know how this algorithm is working, because I don't understand the technical side of it, like the science behind it. But whatever they're doing based on that one marketing video, it looks and sounds like almost as good as stems. It's never going to be as good, but it looks and sounds like it will almost be as good as a stem.
I don't know. Like, I think once you've heard the stem, you can't compare anything to it, because like, there was a big buzz last year where a lot of people found a whole bunch of Michael Jackson stems. Even our friend MK Kiss 100 he got a bunch and he was playing them on, these Cubase or whatever it's called, right? And they were playing these individual stems, and they're so ultra clean. And I've never heard a version of a stem on DJ software where they've took out the vocal, where you don't get that horrible like tinniness around the voice. And even the people that were leaking it yesterday on Twitter, as soon as the beta version came out, I'm like, yeah, 2 of the 4 stems, probably the drums and the bass sound good. The melody, which can be anything, and the vocal, which can be anything, is a little bit harder to enjoy. But there are people, right? DJs, even on places like DJ City, the second most common thing they do with a record on DJ City, the first most common is they make a loop so you can have your intros and your outros. The second most common thing that they do is beef up the drums. And so what's going to happen is you're now going to have the option of, the most common thing I think people will do with Serato stems is, as they come out of a record, they'll isolate the drum, which will keep the crowd moving. They'll loop it, which will give full authority to the DJ and lots of open space musically to bring in the next record. So I think like the same way that when Jazzy Jeff started doing the echo out, and that became almost like a parachute, you know what I mean? Or like an ejector seat thing, where if things aren't going too well, you can hit the echo and you can come out of a record and then bring something else in. I think that's going to be the most common thing, is that people are going to loop like the way people loop a record on the way out, but they'll loop just the drums, giving you this nice little skeletal beat to bring your next record in.
Yeah, that sounds like the most common thing, and that will be the most common thing. But in terms of just the last point on it, the vocals, because they're talking about it being a machine learning algorithm. So I think, obviously it's all based on, frequencies, right? So at some point over time, it's going to figure out what the most common frequencies are for different types of vocals, different types of melodies, different types of bass, different types of drums. And I think it will just get better over time.
What if Serato was to release its own music store where they sell you FLACs or WAVs? Actually, by default, those don't have the intelligence to separate the layers. But let's say they release an MP3X or an MP4X or something like that, exclusive to Serato. They create their own iTunes and they put out just 1,000 important albums, Songs in the Key of Life, History by Michael Jackson, couple of Prince albums, and they release them at 30 to 40 pounds each. DRM, they know who's bought it. I think that could be a real earner, man. I would 100% put away, assuming I'm DJing a lot and the money's coming in, 300 to 400 quid to buy a bunch of classic albums, knowing that all the stems are actually isolated, and you don't need to do the version of it, the Serato version of it. Could be super interesting.
It'd be interesting.
So do you think we're going to have a debate like what we had when sampling happened in hip hop and electronic music, where artists or certain labels are going to come out and be like, okay, you're putting up my music on here and you're chopping it up and taking it apart, even though stuff gets sampled all the time. And someone will just come out and just, have what will obviously be a little bit of a dated view on a DJ just disassembling their track and stuff like that. That debate always happens. Or you think that's not going to go down like that?
I don't think there's I mean, I don't think that's a threat. It happens already. I don't think it's a threat. The sampling thing is different when you do a commercial release. Obviously, you need to have your samples cleared, etc.
Sure.
But I don't really see that, because what they're doing right now in terms of this thing that they're doing with Serato is really more for the live environment, right? Of course,
Right.
people can then make mashups, record them, put them online, whatever, and then come on made. But people are doing that anyway. DJs, producers are doing that anyway. So I don't think this is a real threat to that. This is now an advantage, or it's an advantage for DJs in the live environment to then do something special if they're creative enough.
Yeah, I think look, this software is ubiquitous. It doesn't give a shit what MP3 it breaks down into 4 layers. So it's going to happen anyway. I mean, you saw that I've had this on my phone for God knows how long, and more than 6 months at least, if not a year. And sometimes I'll just load in there. Like I've got another record in here as well, which, speaking of starting from scratch, I used this just to stunt on him, but like it was this record that he put me onto. Let's see if it plays or not. So New Shoes.
New Shoes, I can't wait. Yeah.
Let's see the
drums.
You can hear the jingle, which you want the bass, right? What's really funny about that record is that's a synthetic vocal. It's a highly synthesized vocal, and yet that's really, really clean. So I think on a case-by-case basis, some records will work inside this version of Serato. Other versions of records will not work for any reason. And I think there's a real incentive for an artist to be like, I want to release my record truly as stems for people to enjoy. We, not Alex, but the rest of us came up in an era where you go buy a CD and you would have the instrumental, the remix instrumental, the a cappella, the radio version, and the 12-inch version. It was like, look, take it, go do whatever you need to do with it. And 99% of people were not able to do anything with it because they were consumers, but DJs went mad and loved it and took advantage of every opportunity they could.
You mean you never freestyled over an instrumental of the Benjamins beat?
Never. I want to hear yours though.
It's a lost tape.
It'd be interesting to see what DJs do, and what people come up with. It's just a nice little update. I think this part of the industry needed something fresh and something new, and it'll be just nice to see what people do with it.
What was also interesting as well about the Serato video is that they had the phase. So they had a top, like high-end controller. It looked like they had an S9 or something. I couldn't even tell. I wasn't really paying attention to that, but my eyes were distracted by the fact they had a phase. So a DJ stack right now is made of turntables that are effectively just dumb platters, a really, really good controller that's not even getting that much data from the turntable. They're getting it from the phase. So it's quite interesting right now. I think you probably have never had an opportunity to spend more than you could today. Once you factor in Serato, a mixer, a phase, 2 turntables, because they've not made turntables cheaper just because they're dumb. You're still paying for the needle, the arm, all of that stuff. You still got to pay for it, even though you're not going to use it because you're going to use the phase. So yeah, big up to that. I'd like to actually see now I can't wait to go see, Jeff again or Caper again and see how they play. So it'd be very, very interesting. And what we'll do is we'll try to do at some point, once these guys have had a decent play around with it, we'll try and get them on the show and have a chat with them about it. Also, shout out to Dreddy from So Solid who messaged me today. He's excited about it. We'll definitely try and get some of the guys on the show. All right, next up, big UAE news. There has been a Fintech award handed out to a company that I would say is probably in the top 5 to 10 brands in the UAE right now, buying ads on Instagram. They're called Huspy. They are an end-to-end solution for people that are looking to buy houses. So I've never used the service, but from what the press releases say, they allow you to search for a property, make a bid on it, I guess, get a mortgage end to end, all through this app. They have some really, really sexy companies behind it. Now, Sequoia Capital India, so, one of the Sequoia Capitals, I guess, Founders Fund, Fifth Wall, not heard of, Chimera, not heard of, Breyer, not heard of, Venture Friends, not heard of, COTU, Venture Souk. Oh, Venture Souk is our friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Venture Souk is in there as well. And, in 2 years of operations, they've achieved $2 billion in gross merchandise value, GMV. One of the things that got them off the ground in the UAE, Huspy acquired 3 mortgages businesses, including our friends Home Matters that are like part of our gang. So big up to them. I actually only realized when we read this story that they sold their company to Huspy. But this looks pretty interesting. In a time where property is booming right now, has there ever been a time which is like more ripe for disruption when it comes to prop tech and fintech?
I think so. This is an industry that still has a very kind of traditional way of doing business. Real estate brokers having connections with their sellers, with their buyers, listings and viewings and all that kind of stuff. It's still very, very like old school. Burn the shoe leather, get out, do your meetings, do 100 viewings, do the open houses, do whatever you need to do. And I think this is an industry that needs disruption. I don't know enough about prop tech. Salah, maybe you can chime in once I'm done, but I don't know much about prop tech. But I do know that companies like this make your average consumer your average buyer of a property, it makes them less fearful, I feel, to go into the market, to maybe look for a mortgage, to maybe explore their options. If they've got a little bit of money put away, maybe they're worried about, the fees, getting scammed by real estate brokers, this, that, the other. Am I going to find the right place? I don't know enough about this world, but I do think that the one takeaway for me is this. I think people will be less nervous to maybe put their toe in the water of the real estate world from a purchasing point of view.
It's an interesting thing because from the way you explained it, Raj, I'm curious to see what all the real estate companies and the people who sell property, how they're reacting to it. I mean, I only know as much as what you've just told me right now. You're right, it is a big disruptor in the game. But given how the property game is here in Dubai and how people are very connected, I'm fascinated to see how that industry is reacting to it.
Okay,
I mean, not part of it, but you know what I mean? Like how they're sort of, because it sounds like from the way you described it, it's giving more power to the homeowner or the buyer.
Yeah, let's try this on the show. Let's try this for the first time and bring up the screen here. But like, hello, future homeowner. By the way, if you're watching this on Spotify or you're watching this on YouTube, we've just pulled up the homepage of Huspy. Hello, future homeowner. From finding a property to financing your dream home, we're here to make it easy. And then it's really sending you down 3 routes. How can we help you today? Looking for home financing, looking for a property, not sure, just exploring. And it says with Huspy Portal, you can see mortgages differently, choose the best bank's offer, quality check documents, do everything online. Now, this reminds me of early Web 2 dynamics, which is how do we digitize stuff? How do we take stuff online? And each time that you do and you automate these kind of things, whether it be through transparency, open databases, APIs, you automatically remove friction. And the more human friction you remove, the more cost you remove, because it's the humans that trigger these cost events when you're making a purchase, especially a big purchase like a home. So it looks pretty interesting. I think it's definitely something we got to keep an eye on. I wonder if, Vic, we've also got another friend inside that business.
Yeah, I was literally going to say we know someone in the business.
Two people.
Two people.
Two big dogs in the business. Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yeah, of course we do. Yeah, and we also know someone mutually that's. I've spoken to 2 people. One person we know mutually that's gone through the process and went through the process of getting a mortgage through Huspy, and they said it was really easy.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
The word of mouth has started already.
I think you were there for that conversation. No, maybe you weren't. But anyway, it's a mutual friend of ours. I'll tell you who it is afterwards. But yeah, they went through the process and they said it was really easy, no stress. And I think people also have a hard time trusting banks and traditional financial institutes. So, you know, I think this is going to really like open it up for your average run-of-the-mill person that's trying to buy a house.
In the press release, it says the company's innovative technology is at the heart of the real estate ecosystem, empowering all market players, brokers, agents, and banks. Don't know if that's just trying to soften the blow over the next 36 months by saying, you know what, everyone's going to benefit from it. But, you know, let's see if any parts of the ecosystem get squeezed out. What we should probably do in the next couple of weeks is jump on the phone with some of our friends, get a bit more of an insight as to what's going on over there. But this is something worth keeping an eye on, especially because there are so many people moving to Dubai right now from all around the world. The city's got this kind of like slow buzz about it. It's not an over the top buzz like where there's these big moments like Expo opening and stuff like that, but there's just a consistently high gas mark in the city. What are people saying about Dubai in Amsterdam?
I haven't even heard anybody speak about Dubai and Amsterdam.
Really?
Nope. I mean, not really. No, nobody. But I'm also different, right? I'm hanging out with people who are in university.
Yeah.
Like they don't really have an influence on where they're gonna live and things like that as of now.
Are there any university kids that would want to come to Dubai just for the party life, for the DJs, the clubs, the pool?
Yeah, but that's like a worldwide thing. Like everybody wants to get out to Dubai at least once.
Yeah. Is it, and I know you've only hung out with your peers for, you know, a month plus, but like Miami, Ibiza, Las Vegas, maybe not because the US is over 21. Miami, maybe not because the US is over 21, but like Ibiza, Greece, Mykonos, Dubai, like where is it? Is it in that mix, or is it better just people want to keep it like around Europe, Barcelona?
Yeah, I think the biggest place for university students at the moment in Europe is Spain and the UK.
All right.
That's just where people are at.
All right. So definitely.
Dubai's pricey as well. Like,
yeah,
student, you know what I mean? Like wanting to go clubbing, it's what do you get? You know, not to name drop places
also,
here. You know the deal.
Yeah. Also, clubbing's 21 in Dubai. It's same thing as America.
Fair
it
point.
is, yeah. And also with Europe to Europe is you hop on a plane. The flights are more reasonably priced. It's quicker to get there. You know what you're getting. Europe is Europe. Like culturally, there's lots of similar. I mean, there's obviously differences, but there's lots of similarities. You kind of know what you're getting. Dubai's like a big world. It's like a big new world for people if you don't know it, or if you've never experienced it before. And I think probably your age is probably just easier for someone to go. We'll do the weekend in Barcelona, Mykonos, or one of the islands.
Well, I guess in Amsterdam, especially as a student, you just let the party come to you. You know, people want to perform in Amsterdam. It's the definition of like a super B city in the sense that it's really extremely cool. It's not got the over the topness of New York and London, but it's 100% got like the coolness and the creativity. And it is a pit stop on, for most artists that are going around the world doing their thing, not least because of some of the pastime activities you can get into in Amsterdam. Speaking of which, speaking of new pastimes, news coming out of the UAE, and speaking of the UAE as a holiday destination, bit of a confusing article this week on Hotelier Middle East. They released a story about the Wynn Hotel. So Vic, you and I have been to Vegas. Sal, you've been to Vegas?
Yeah.
The Wynn Hotel is super well known in the US for being on, having obviously a gambling proposition. You can do that in their gaming, or however they call it. And it's coming to Ras Al Khaimah. The CEO of Wynn Development told Hotelier Middle East that whilst the up and coming Wynn resort in Ras Al Khaimah has plans for an 18,500 square meter gaming space, the brand is much more than just gaming, which is weird because in the same article, they say, let me just see somewhere about this. I think that something about like gaming or gambling still being illegal. Let me just do a quick search on this.
Yes, second paragraph.
Whilst casinos and gambling are illegal in the UAE, Las Vegas-born Wynn Resorts is known for its gambling facilities. I think we're going to go through a bit of an awkward stage here for a couple of years where gambling and gaming are going to be used interchangeably, almost like Serato with stems, right? And but it looks to me like there's going to be quite a bit of like, you know, quote unquote gaming space that's going to be here. So like the project parking along with the beautiful white sand beach will contain a 200,000 square foot gaming facility. Gaming, gambling, what's the difference? Are people stepping up? This is some quote from the Future Hospitality Summit by Bench Events, my former client, big up to them. What do you guys think? Sal, you are, for those who don't know, you are very much in the hotel space. Like, is this as confusing an article to you as it is to me?
As a hotelier, I understand what's being said. I think to other people, it might be a little bit confusing for sure. Absolutely. You know, I know what they're trying to do and everything, but yeah, as you see, like the way the article is, it's very kind of like, not vague, but it's very subtle in what it's trying to explain and things. And to a certain extent, you know, when an international brand has to come to another country and open up like that, they kind of have to be very careful with how they do the press release. So yeah, it is a bit confusing to the regular person, but I think I get what they're trying to do with that.
I guess the question is, can you game without gambling? Because you can go into Dubai Mall and you can do all the gaming you want. They've got virtual reality, this, that, and the other. Is it that they're going to build out this kind of like gaming facility and then see if over a number of years the rules evolve or the laws evolve so that they've got the infrastructure ready for it?
So we've heard what they want to do in rack and things like this, but the thing is, they have not kind of come out and said what gaming involves, and I think they have to address that first, and then we'll know what they mean by that with the Wynn Hotel going to be there.
Yeah, it takes time for these things to open. And I think there's going to be a lot of time where the promo videos will drop. Ras Al Khaimah has had a massive uptick post-pandemic. You know, as you know, there was a huge demand, a huge need for domestic Emirates, like the other Emirates, to try and get some tourism. They were losing a lot of it to Oman and stuff like that. And now Ras Al Khaimah has just done such an incredible job. Abu Dhabi has also done an incredible job of getting that weekend traffic and staycation traffic. So I think it's something worth keeping an eye on. I will say as well that the Waldorf Astoria, Ras Al Khaimah, is one of my favorite hotels on the planet.
Some great hotels there, for sure.
Yeah. So let's keep an eye on that. Vic, from your perspective, bothered?
So I think it's just going to be a beautiful place to go and do a staycation. I got a family, so, you know, I'm always thinking about that. One thing I would say about the wording of this article, actually, is quite clear to me what they're saying. They're saying that they're building a gaming facility, and all they're saying is that the Wynn is known for gambling. That's all they're saying. They're not saying they're bringing gambling in. They're just saying they're building a gaming facility. Now, you can then take it whichever way you want, but a big gaming facility could have a number of things inside it that are nothing to do with gambling.
Well, look, one of the things they've written in here is they say, we normally have theaters in our hotel, artwork. A big thing for them is nightlife. It says here, nightlife is important to us. We have nightclubs all over the place. The cat who was saying this, I don't know if it was Chris Gordon, CEO of Wynn Development. Now, what's crazy about that is you take gambling out of the picture when you look at Vegas. I remember when I went to Vegas a few years ago, one of the things that we did is we went to go check out a show. Now, it was me and my friend Naresh, and we actually went to watch Boys to Men, which makes no sense. But he's the biggest Boys to Men fan on the planet. And I think that could be quite interesting, is that it's the concept of a package deal, right? So we already go to like Ras Al Khaimah to hang out or Abu Dhabi to hang out on weekends. If your child is a fan of Rita Ora, or you're a fan of, I don't know,
Boys to Men.
No, but not Boys to Men. Let's go with something that appeals to more folks that would be in the UK right now. So let's say, for example,
Stormzy does a residence.
Huh?
Stormzy does a residence.
No, not Stormzy. Say someone like, I don't know, not Boyzone, but like, you know, just a pop group, right?
Yeah.
Or like let's say even like Il Divo or someone like that, right?
Okay.
Would you go to Ras Al Khaimah on an all-inclusive? You get dinner, you get drinks, you get the show, you get a room. I think it could be quite interesting, and we could start seeing the beginning of entertainment driven packages. Because
Yeah.
right now, if let's be super honest, if Nas came to the Wynn Ras Al Khaimah and there was a package there, and it includes your room, your food, your drinks, a very, very small show, you know, maybe 800 people, the option of a meet and greet, you know, you might even bump into the guy in the lobby. You have no idea, right? I think folks might come off £600-700 for that.
Yeah.
Experience.
So what you're talking about there is, I mean, that kind of stuff is done. So, you know, in the UK, you can get theatre, dinner, and hotel, you know, that kind of like, you know, smaller scale package stuff. What we're talking about here, and this is really interesting, take out gambling. Just ignore that exists. Is Vegas dynamics without the gambling. So again, you know, as you know, I went to Vegas. I was part of my honeymoon, and I wasn't staying at the Wynn, but we did a David Copperfield show. We did an O show, the Cirque du Soleil show. We went out partying. We went to Excess in Wynn for his first birthday and saw Skrillex. And, you know, I have a friend out there that hooked us up and did everything. I didn't gamble, hardly. I just, you know, did what a little flutter here and there, but I loved it. But it was the Vegas dynamic, because it was the whole kind of over the top thing, the show, the beautiful buffet brunch style thing that you do. Then you go to the club afterwards. That kind of dynamic as an all-in-one, knowing that you're going to get that and you don't have to think or worry about anything. I think that will work super well. And being that it's in Ras Al Khaimah, for people from Dubai, you know, it's a destination venue. So then it becomes this whole staycation-y type thing. And they'll probably benefit from, you do the one night package with whoever the artist is, the dinner and the club afterwards. And someone will probably, like, people will probably go, let's extend that out 1 or 2 days, you know, over the long weekends and things like that. I think that's an interesting observation. But yeah, just the Vegas dynamics without gambling.
We talked about franchises last week.
Yes.
Coming to Abu Dhabi and acts coming to Dubai. I think it'd be interesting to see how that cookie crumbles in Ras Al Khaimah, where will they have like big brand entertainment things? And then what happens is, if they set that model, will Dubai do, you know, dismantled versions of it? Will they try and pull that off in somewhere in JBR or something like that? Because JBR doesn't really have the entertainment facilities. They don't have like theaters and performance spaces inside a lot of Dubai hotels. So the idea of the Wynn potentially having one of those makes for really, really interesting dynamics and will spike average daily rates.
So
you know, QE2 does that, right?
Yeah.
QE2, the QE2, which is the big ship, the cruise boat, whatever it is, the Queen Elizabeth II, it's docked in Port Rashid here, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been there a couple of times, and they do a show, and then you stay the night. And I've done that.
Nice.
With my wife and my son. So that dynamic exists, but it's quirky because it's a QE2, it's not a hotel.
Yeah. Sal.
There was it's funny because mention this, because the idea of like having entertainment at a hotel, I mean, that's old school Dubai. So someone who used to live here in the 90s. I remember, like, you know, my dad used to work at the Hyatt Regency, the old one in the Galleria, and they would have like Paul Daniels come in and do an event at in the ballroom. And even not that long ago, even like Lil Wayne back in 2016, I think, was doing one of the hotel's ballrooms as opposed to just the clubs. What you're suggesting is something that I would have thought they would have done as a package, as a full board package a long time ago. And then, of course, that would probably incentivize something like Abu Dhabi having the Yas Island thing. And, you know, I remember when Yas Island first opened up and they would have entertainment events. What was their slogan? Make it a weekend, make it a Yas Island weekend or something like that. I don't know if they ever really went full on board with packages, like the NBA thing happening next week. There's some hotels that have said they've got a special rate for it, but that doesn't include a ticket to the game, I don't think. So it will definitely incentivize, you know, Abu Dhabi and Dubai to be like, hey, you know, we've been flirting with this idea for like 30 years. We should be doing like consolidated packages and things like this. Because, you know, there might be a little bit of competition, as there always is around the Emirates with these sort of entertainment things. So I could see it happen.
Cool. Nice. Well, that's something to look forward to. I don't know when this joint is coming online, this hotel. but I am kind of keen to see how it all goes down. Anything where like you've got new brands coming to the city and that actually changes the landscape of the city, especially when it comes to hospitality, is super interesting. But taking it away from hotels now, taking it away from Dubai, some interesting news coming out of Twitter, which is not known for its innovation, but did get a bit of a debate going on the editorial group that we've got, which is that Twitter has finally launched an edit button. Alex, did you get a chance to read this article?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Good. Over to you, Vic.
Thank you for your input, Alex. No, but
what did you think, Alex?
Alex, are you a Twitter user? What did you think?
No, I don't use Twitter at all, but I mean, I think it's good that they added it, because like sometimes you just either say things you don't want to, and then this will give you the opportunity to change it rather than just deleting the entire post. But it will also let the users know that you're editing your tweet. So it's not like you can take something out of context because you know the person's changed it.
Yeah, it's looking like, and there are some kind of parameters to this. It is going to allow you to edit tweets if you are subscribed to Twitter Blue and you're sending Twitter a couple of dollars every month to be a Twitter Blue subscriber. Interestingly, it's not rolling out in the US. It is rolling out in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And it's not given a US launch date yet. Now, specifically, it's going to allow Twitter subscribers in these countries to edit their tweets for up to half an hour after the original post. The limit is 5 edits. And that, according to TechCrunch, it could be the case that those levers could be moved. So 30 minutes could become 15, 5 edits could become 3. Sally, you on Twitter much?
I look at it. You know, I have a Twitter thing, but I barely kind of am on it, and I just look at it. It's going to be interesting. I mean, the first thing I thought about is what took them so long. And then the second thing was all the things you just mentioned, that like, so it's not going to roll out in the US where, you know, they have the most intense social, political conversations and things like that, where these kind of things fly off. That's interesting. And the part you meant about editing 5 times, I think on a light side, I think that's going to make for some interesting scenarios and possibly memes.
Yeah, Vic, I think it's going to be the case, Vic, that you can specifically see what happens here, which is that it says here that once you edit a tweet, it will display a timestamp showing when the tweet was edited. People reading the tweet can tap the label to view the edit history of the tweet. So the edit history will be there. And you might be able to go back up to 5 versions of what that original tweet was.
Well, that's the bit I'm unsure about. I think it's ambiguous. So edit history, does it mean the actual edits or the timestamps of the edits? So depending on which way it is now, if it's of the actual edits and you can see what has been edited, then, you know, for people that want to make those edits, it really kind of just goes, it really doesn't, I don't think it really matters too much, because anyone within 30 minutes of doing a tweet that they may regret, they're going to delete it. If the edits are shown, the edits then become pointless if you can see them. Because if they're there, they're still there. There's no point editing it, or you can edit it, but if someone wants to see all of the changes of what you first wrote 5 edits previously, then you're going to be able to see it. So kind of what's the point of making the edit? You may as well just delete it and then re-upload it or rewrite it. Sorry. That's the way I see it. Because like, Raj, if you wrote something on Twitter and you were like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, let me edit it, because it's controversial, or maybe you regretted it, specifically that point of view, and I go back and say, well, you've changed it, but you said this before, it doesn't matter what you've changed it to, you still originally said it. Because people are like that. People will take the first thing that you said and no one will care. I think where it helps people, if that's the case, where it helps people is if you just make a mistake. If you write 37% instead of 42%, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I think what's interesting here is during the rise of cryptocurrencies in the last 24 months, the last rise, I started using Twitter a lot more because that's where a lot of the conversation was. So I started going there to consume content. And I think the use cases you're talking about, all three of you, come down to blunders and mistakes and bloopers and little fact edits. The reality is that there are things on Twitter called Twitter threads, where somebody writes a tweet and then in their own comments of their own tweet, they'll then put in a part 2, a part 3, a part 4. And effectively, you can write an essay where the first paragraph is in tweet 1, the second paragraph is in tweet 2, which is a comment. And these have become so common that there are roll-up apps where you can tweet a roll-up app, and that roll-up app will actually grab the whole thread and turn it into like a Medium style article. Where this becomes useful is if your original tweet, which is the core of the whole thread, if there's a mistake in it, or you realize that you made an additional point on thread point 7 that you want to now include in the title thread, in the title tweet, you can go back and change it. So I don't know if it's just all specifically about blunders or blurbs or aggression or offense or facts. I think there's going to be a couple more use cases, and it's definitely not aimed at you guys. It's not even aimed at me because I don't tweet enough to be like, I'm still the kind of Twitter user that's like, if I make a mistake, firstly, no one's going to read it, probably. Secondly, I've still got time to delete it and, you know, get rid of it. I'm not that popular on Twitter. But I think for the hardcore Twitter user, this is something they've been asking for a while. It'd be interesting to see how it kicks off. I saw a lot of like Silicon Valley reporters today, like flexing that they were editing their tweets, and how that plays off, how that plays out. Let's see. But it is quite interesting. And it's really weird as well. We were talking about this before the show, Vic, that the edit feature is so common. Facebook statuses, LinkedIn statuses, YouTube descriptions, YouTube titles. You can even edit a cover photo on YouTube. So in social media, editing has just been part of the fabric of publishing online. But with Twitter, it's never been that really. And so it feels like I said, I feel like it's like a 44-year-old walking into a room being like, yo, I just learned how to brush my teeth. And it's like, well, the rest of the world's been doing that. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit of a weird one, but let's keep an eye on it. I don't think it's going to make a big impact on Twitter. I don't think it's going to be the kind of thing that maybe necessarily will drive subscriptions to Blue. Maybe it'll drive it a little bit. But it's going to be those Blue subscriptions that drive up the stock price. Speaking of stock prices, the guy who put a lot of effort into the stock price, so much so that he actually wanted to raise it so he could buy the company, Elon Musk, tried to jump into the news cycle this week with his robot. Did you guys all get a chance to check out in WhatsApp the Elon Musk robot?
Yeah.
Oh, glance at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked at some pictures in the release, part of the release video.
What did you think of the video?
I don't know. I saw some articles that said like it was a bit underwhelming what like he showed the robot doing specifically on stage. There was a bunch of videos that circled after, but yeah, I thought like, I mean, I have no need in buying a robot, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I feel like, you know, when your friend's got a kid that's into science and then they drag something into the living room and they're like, look, this sand pot goes into another sand pot that then goes into another sand pot that goes into a water pot that goes into something that kicks out a marshmallow at the end. And you're like, go away, kid. That's boring. Like, I felt like it was like that. It was like, it was a really shitty robot that I don't care about. It came out, it basically walked, and it basically put its hands in the air. And if you're like a super nerd who's like not spoken to like a chick in like 3.5 years, that might actually like do it for you. But if you're just like, cool, that robot didn't do anything for me. And I was like, no, and I said this to Vic before, I was like, nobody wants a general robot. Like nobody wants a general robot that can work. I want a specific robot that if I put my sneakers in, 23.5 minutes later, my sneakers will come out clean. Or if I leave it on my floor and then I go to my job and I come back, my floor is going to be clean. I don't want.
What if you have a robot? what if the robot can do multiple things? That's the idea, right? That it can do whatever you want.
That's also interesting, but that's not what Elon Musk showed.
No, but that's not where you're gonna start, right? You can't start by just getting a robot to do everything.
I feel like, look, there's so many robots. There's other people, obviously, that put those robot videos out, right? Those robots that can jump their feet on angles and do backflips. That's a real gangster robot. I'm like, you know what?
But
go ahead.
I'm saying everybody's roasting Elon Musk for that because they released that robot that's jumping on boxes and doing stuff like 2 years ago, and he's still here.
Yeah,
but also Elon started the process of going into robots a lot later than the previous company who did it.
He went into space a lot later, and he still did pretty good on that.
Yeah, did all right on that.
But you can't do great on everything, right? So.
Well, what could be really interesting, and again, Raj and I were speaking about it, like functionality of a robot is quite cool because then you get stuff done by it. But this is just like a little weird little thing that Elon is doing. He's going into the robot space. Cool, we know that. But what will be probably quite interesting is that Elon might go put this video out. It walks out like it doesn't really work, and it kind of dances a bit like you, Alex. So,
thanks.
But what he's probably doing this purposely. It's probably like a little red herring. Like it's going to come out and everyone's underwhelmed and everyone's taking a mic and and then like in 6 days he's probably going to bring out a robot that can jump the Burj Khalifa or something. I don't know, whatever, right? But he's probably going to do something like that and just leapfrog everyone, and he's keeping his cool stuff behind, and he's like, let me just give everyone this. Raj, you also had a really interesting point as to why he's put this out as well, just like from a news cycle point of view, right?
Yeah. So like Elon's been very, very quiet on Twitter relative to when he was going for his acquisition and relative to when he was trying to get out of his acquisition of Twitter. And that's because he's going into a Delaware court. The Delaware courts get involved in conflicts, especially conflicts that are like explicit and on paper. And they do very, very quick processing. Now, he's supposed to be going into this Delaware court anytime between mid-October, maybe potentially as late as November, but the date is kind of like October 17th. Today's date, he's been caught in the news cycle of the last 7 days. Today, we're on October 4th. I think he just wanted to have a moment in the news. I just think he wanted to have a goodwill moment. I think he wanted to show his hardcore following, what he's about and what he's been up to. His fan base, like his base followers, what he's been up to. But the reality is, firstly, a lot of people aren't impressed by it. So I think it kind of backfired. And secondly, that dude's still going to have to show up in court to justify why he wanted to buy Twitter for tens of billions of dollars. And then he's been like backtracking out of it. And whether that leads to an out of court settlement, which is a fraction of the acquisition price, or a spread between the current share price and what he said it would be, like, so he can just top it up with his own cash, whatever that's going to be, I think that's probably why he did it. I think he was just trying to get a press moment. And quite frankly, he can't rely on his other press moments. He can't rely on doing something outlandish in a podcast. That's not going to help him. He can't rely on something to do with his relationships with women. That's not going to help him. So he had to go back to his core fan base. It's almost like we talk about this, Vic, all the time. It's almost like Jay Sean putting out like a Hindi fusion record. It's like, I've got to go all the way back to like the Mela crowd to make sure that, like, to appeal to them. But those people aren't going to be able to do anything for him in a Delaware court, to be honest. And he's going to have to go up and he's going to have to face his truth and get judged. So I think that's why he did it. I think it's pretty lame. I'm not turned on by it at all. And the robot just kind of sucked. So I saw it and I was like, man. And I was like, did I just get like the lame version of this video? So I went and checked for other videos and they were all equally lame. And you just got to be a complete schmo to be turned on by that video. So anyway, whatever. So that's what Elon's up to. Anybody else want to weigh in on that?
I just think, like you said, I was about to say that, even something as simple as a robot like that, if you put the Elon Musk brand on it, it'll get like his own version of Hypebeast hyped up. But like you said as well, Elon's publicity stunts have been pretty transparent now, especially with, what he did last year with Bitcoin and everything. So I think people have kind of figured Elon out. And like you said, he's going to have to face his truth a little bit.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't, and it's also like, okay, let's say he was doing this because it's part of the rollout, it's part of his company portfolio, something he wants to sell. Showing a prototype that early, it's not gonna impress any stakeholders or anything like that. So
Yeah, not at all.
I think people
Not
have
at all.
figured out the Elon Musk brand a little bit, and
On
not saying it's done with him, but yeah.
the main appealing thing I heard from that was just the price point.
Oh,
What's the price point?
He said under $20,000 on release, and apparently within the industry for a robot, like that's appealing.
you say that like it's a bargain. You trying to chip in?
Me, no way. I don't care to have a robot in my house, but I'm sure the price point is appealing for a lot of other people.
Yeah,
I'm not other people. Okay.
I just want to know, at $20,000, can it solve a $21,000 problem? Then you can justify $20,000. Like, if there's something in my world that cost me $21,000 over 5 years, then I'll buy one, because it will make that problem go away, and there'll be $1,000 in my pocket at the end of it. So I kind of get that, but and also there's a lot of hype at the moment. But the reality is, let's say you get a robot, right? What's going to happen? You're going to buy one of those robots, and as you walk out of like Dixon's or Curry's or Sharaf DG, what do you get? A 1-year warranty with it? Like, how does it really work? If it's going to go consumer, what is it? Do you get a lifetime warranty with it? A 5-year warranty with it? Like, you imagine you buy a car, cars fall in that 20K US price point. You got, mileage warranties, time, this, that, usage, wear, tear. It's just, I just feel like it's just way too early for a general purpose robot. But if you've got something which is a little bit more specific, like I'm quite keen on the little drone that Amazon's released, where if you've got a decent sized house, every hour it will fly around your house, it'll map it, it'll have a quick look around, make sure the cat's okay, make sure there's no burglars, report back to its dock, upload all the footage, send it to your phone. Cool, I get it. It's got a narrow case study to it, but all this general purpose robot stuff is kind of sucky. Let's see where Elon ends up.
The question really is, if you buy that robot from a Sharaf DG and you get it delivered at home, how does it get delivered? Does it just walk over to you and it's like, there's no express delivery? It just takes 14 days to walk to your house as a delivery.
Can you imagine walking out of a shop with that robot in a 8-foot by 8-foot box, or like a 4-foot by, and you're dragging out a robot that's supposed to be able to walk, loading it into your car, unboxing it when you go home? Can you imagine the YouTube unboxing videos for that robot? I finally got one, and it's just like, it just comes out of the box and it puts its hands in the air like that for 20 grand. You're gonna feel like such a twat. Anyway, speaking of which, Elon's on his way to court. Walking out of court right now this week is Kim Kardashian. I'm sure they've got each other's number. I'm sure they've got stories on each other, maybe a few takes, but who knows? Kim Kardashian walked out of court this week with 1.26 million debit on her debit card, which, let's be honest, is nothing, and it's probably quite a welcome tax write-off for her, because she got fined that amount for endorsing a crypto asset called Ethereum Max on Instagram. Apparently, she used the hashtag AD or SP, ad or sponsored post. But according to the SEC, the Security Commission, that is not enough to make it apparent to the public that you're actually being paid to do this. And of course, because we are speaking broadly in the financial industry, when it comes to giving financial advice or financial direction to the general public, you have to put out a lot more declarations. So it was a $1 million fine and a 260K payment. She obviously got paid 250. Not sure why the extra 10K was there, but the fine was 1 mil. So there we go. Yeah, probably interest or something along those kind of lines. I think it was Gary Gensler is it Gary? Yeah, the SEC chair, the head of the SEC, Gary Gensler, flagged it and said it's not cool. Any celebrity or influencers incentives aren't necessarily aligned with yours, he said, and the public shouldn't confuse the skills of celebrities with the very different skills needed to offer appropriate investment advice. If somebody invested in Ethereum Max based on what Kim Kardashian said, sympathy for them, or are they just massively stupid? Alex, me and you deep dived into crypto for quite a while. We've lost money. but we were studying it and breaking it up for quite some time. One of your friends said I bought Ethereum Max because Kim Kardashian said so, and now they're down. What's the first thing you're saying to them?
I don't really want to have more job editing. So I'm not gonna swear, but yeah. No, but I mean, it's up to them, right? If they're doing if they did their research and then they with their brain think it was still a good idea, then it's on and I think either way it's on you. If you're not doing your research and you're putting your money into something, then like it's kind of your fault, right? You're just trusting somebody you've never met.
Let's have a look here. It says on CNN, Kim Kardashian isn't the first celebrity to pay a fine for pushing crypto. 2018, Floyd Mayweather, the boxer, Floyd Mayweather Jr., and music producer DJ Khaled did pay fines for pushing cryptos. Mayweather got 300K, but paid 600 in penalties, whilst Khaled, who'd been paid 50K, seems like very little, with penalties of 150. And Steven Seagal, you know what, I'm not even going to finish the story on Steven Seagal. Don't care about him. But like what's really weird here is that most of these things from a PR point of view are quite interesting write-offs. Like even Kim Kardashian coming off $1 million, you'd be like, you know what, all PR is good PR. Except for in the case of Kim Kardashian right now, who is moving into finance and private equity. So really what you don't want to be seen is like, you know, if it's like a wardrobe malfunction or something, they have a machine that can spin that into what's going on with the funds that she's involved in. But what you don't really want to do is get a slap on the wrist for something in the financial world, especially when you are maneuvering more into that world.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that was the only real point on this one, because, you know, there was this, I can't remember what it was. It was like some kind of weird documentary that I watched or I saw adverts for, where they were pranking celebrities to endorse like fake products. So there is this whole like world where celebrities, and Raj, you and I, we won't mention any names, but we spoke about a couple of people that endorse basically every product around. But it happens, you know, they've got a big following, they get a check. It's difficult sometimes for some people to turn it down. But I think Kim Kardashian as a celebrity and influencer should know better. I think she's at that point where she should know better. If you're talking about a decade ago or even less, you know, maybe that's different. But I think she's at that point where, you know, she's so influential. She has enough money. She has enough power. She's going into finance, as you said. She's at the kind of government level, you know, in terms of like getting people out of prison and things like that. This is not a move for her that she should be making at this stage in her career. And this is only last year, right? It's only in 2021. Last year.
Yeah.
June last year. So it's not like it's from years ago. That's the only real thing I want to say on this. I'm not a big, I'm not big into speaking about the Kardashians or anything like that. But someone like that, who I have to admit has a lot of power and a lot of influence on a lot of people, I think she should be making better choices. But who knows, man? It could have been any reason that she did it. She could have just literally been doing a favor for a friend, and then a friend said, look, you know, here's a bit of money for it. Who knows? I don't know.
I mean, it's a paid ad. According to the post, June 13th, 2021, she wrote, "Are you guys into crypto? ? This is not financial advice, but sharing what my friends told me about the Ethereum Max token. If your friend told you about the Ethereum Max token and you got wired 250K, it doesn't make sense." And she used the hashtag ad along with Emax and Disrupt History and a bunch of other hashtags. But the reality is, you know, it's only been in the last 6 months that podcasts like the All In podcast have started saying, okay, DAOs should be this, cryptocurrency should be securities, this kind, NFT should be X, you know, and they started categorizing different parts of different tokens that live on the blockchain and correlating them to what we're used to in the financial industry, which is securities, commodities, equities, and things of that nature. So, you know, she might have got caught in that little gray zone where it wasn't really clear that the SEC would be involved in something like this, and she just saw it as a check. Not ideal. What was interesting as well is that, you know, at the bottom of this article on CNN Business, they said that if the average household in the US earns £122,000 in their household, this is the equivalent of $100 fine in a year. And if she's worth 1.8 billion, then 1.26 million is the equivalent of that $100 fine. But Forbes is rarely correct when it comes to their valuations of people. but interesting fact. I think that's all we got to get into today. I've not got any content recommendations. I forgot that we were meant to do content recommendations on the last podcast. I pinged Vic about it. I said, we must never forget them again. I just didn't get time to put my own together, but we've got a couple from you, Vic.
Yeah. So the first one is DJ Cassidy is doing his, I think it's his final Pass the Mic. So he's done 10 and this will be his 11th. It's happening tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time, which is, like 9 hours later here, right, in Dubai. But it's a golden era hip hop special. It's after the BET Hip Hop Awards and it's a live one. So that's how they do it. It's it's a live one. So it's the final Pass the Mic special to BET to celebrate a golden age of hip hop. So Swiss Beats, Busta Rhymes, Method Man, Ice Cube are among 20 hip hop stars taking part in the finale to the 10 special Cassidy's has done. And yeah, man, I think this one will be a great way to go out. If anyone's seen them in the past, you know, he has some of the most legendary artists from either an era or genre basically sing, you know, a verse and a hook from their most popular records, and then it moves on to somebody else from that genre or era, and so on and so forth. And it's just DJ Cassidy essentially passing the mic between these artists. And this is a live one from the BET Hip Hop Awards tonight. So I think this one will be a good one. It's going to be half an hour.
We're going to need some Coolio love tonight if we're talking about Buster, Method, and all these kind of guys that, like you mentioned in a previous episode, were even on that Space Jam verse. So I think they're definitely going to have to make some space for Coolio on this.
Yo, that's Buster, Meth, and they were all on that same record, right? So yeah, I reckon, I didn't even think of that. So it's between 93 and 2003. That's a decade of hip hop that they're going to be covering. So yeah, that's one. And then the final content recommendation is the movie trailer for Will Smith's new movie is out, and it's called Emancipation. It's an Apple TV production.
Seen it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's about slavery. It's about the time of when slavery was abolished by Lincoln, and it follows a true story of a guy called Gordon. It's the only name that we know, and so it's starring Will Smith, and we saw the trailer today, and frankly speaking, it looks really good. Will Smith's gone deep into character mode, accent, you know, he's got the African accent, he's, you know, really deep into character, like he did with Ali, like he did with the King Richard movie, and, you know, others. I think this one looks good, and I think that he's in the clear.
You think this is the turning point?
So well,
I tell you why. Sorry, Sal. Sorry to interrupt. The reason I think he's in the clear is, although I don't think he's in the clear from, you know, the streets, the comedy circuit, Chris Rock, for the people who it really matters to, he's in the clear in the public eye, because now he did that weird fake apology. Sorry, but it was just rehearsed and fake. And since then, he's been posting on Instagram. He's been doing his usual kind of, you know, trickery and just being, you know, quite silly on Instagram, like his normal character. And now this movie is out, and this looks like a meaty, beefy, like serious topic movie. And he looks like he really got into the role. Of course, it was filmed before the slap. So at a grand scale, just like in the public eye, I just don't think people are going to care about it, because I think people care in general in the public more about Will Smith than they will about Chris Rock, unfortunately. But to who it matters, he's not in the clear.
Yeah, I'd read today, I think it's an Apple TV production. It's a
Correct.
movie that's produced by Apple TV, that they've pushed the release date up to like winter, December. So it is eligible for award season. And so they can do that. Now, I know he's got that ban from the Oscars, but I think the thinking is that if it gets a lot of good press and things, the Academy will also look and be like, it's kind of ridiculous to ban him for a decade. He's Will Smith. And yeah, like I read exactly what you just said, that it's part of the whole redemption campaign for Will Smith.
You know what, Sal, maybe he can't win Best Actor, but the actual the media asset, the movie could win an award.
Yeah.
I mean, there's screen. I don't know much about the Oscars, but I'm sure there's screenwriting. I'm sure there's scores and things like that. So that is all still eligible, and obviously him being the lead character, automatically he gets that association. And speaking of associations as well, we're talking about a movie season which is where there's going to be some really big events in and around Black identity, Black history, Black excellence. We're talking about Wakanda Forever is coming out, I believe is the name of the follow-on from the Black Panther series. There's also the Woman King. So I think there's going to be a lot of heat and energy around that. And a movie like this coming in could slipstream in and benefit from some of that as well. So I think from that point of view, timing is pretty good. Have you seen the trailer, Alex?
No, I have not watched the trailer yet.
In being that you've not watched the trailer and what you've heard, bothered?
I mean, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie, right? I'm not gonna like not watch it because of what he did at the Oscars. If it's a good movie, I'm gonna watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah. Have you got it kind of puts more pressure on the consumer as well, right? Because they're saying like, you know what, we're going to package this up and give it to you in your house. But for you to really, really enjoy it as well, you kind of need to have a decent TV and a decent sound system.
That's true.
It's going to have a week theatrical release, and then it's going to go straight to Apple TV after that. And I'm sure there'll probably be an overlap time where it's in movie theaters and it's available for home streaming. But then there's the idea of like, do I want to go to, unless everyone's like, you've got to watch it in the movies, and then you kind of like schedule it in and you head over to the movies and watch it.
Well, here's the thing. So it's only on limited release for a week in like limited theaters, and that's to make it eligible for awards because
it's a hack.
It's a complete hack. It's just 100% a hack. So then it's out on Apple in like December the 9th. Hold on, let me just check. Yeah, December the 9th. So that's probably why. So no one will probably go and watch it in the movies, or maybe like a handful of people, particularly if it's in limited theaters. So it might be in some of the big theaters in like LA, New York, or some of the major cities across the world. But it has also, I was looking up this director, and I didn't even know this director that's behind the movie, Antoine Fuqua. Now, I'd never heard of him, which is unusual for someone like me. But he did Gangster's Paradise for Coolio. He directed that music video. And then he was like, he did Shooter, which is the Mark Wahlberg film. He did Equalizer, Southpaw. Like his list is pretty strong. It's pretty solid.
I think he did Training Day as well.
Training Day. He did Training Day. Of course, he did Training Day. He did Brooklyn's Finest. So his filmography is pretty solid. So, but the trailer looks amazing. Alex, when you watch it, you'll enjoy it, and it'll compel you to watch it.
I'll watch it right after this anyway.
Alex isn't watching anything unless there's a drone in it.
Oh, there must be a drone in it because there's like a running scene.
So it can be a helicopter.
Nah,
it has to be a drone in all cases.
Yes. Yeah, it was low. It was between. It was in the forest.
I think that the power move would have been to shoot it on iPhone. That would have been the power move.
There was a movie that did that in the last 5 or 6 years. I can't remember.
Yeah, there is, right? I can't remember which one. I remember this. Some movie did it. But Raj, a film like this, they couldn't pull off on iPhone, man.
No way.
It's a big movie. You saw it.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks for clarifying that. Good.
Content guide is great.
Yeah. That's good. Next time I go for a job in content, I'll make sure that I keep that point front and center in my mind. Right, my eyes are burning. If you're watching the video version on Spotify and YouTube, you probably see me rubbing them 100 times. It's getting pretty late here in Dubai. If we can do more of these, there might be more late night sessions. Speaking of YouTube and Spotify gang, YouTube gang, definitely give us a subscription. Hit us with a subscribe on here. On the next episode, we're actually going to be doing a giveaway. One thing we didn't speak about today at the beginning of the episode is that I got to hang out with arguably one of the best business authors in the UK, a guy by the name of Daniel Priestley. Got back-to-back sick books that he's released. Key Person of Influence, oversubscribed. Latest book is Scorecard Marketing. Vic, you actually left your 2 books here.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you left them here. Let me just put them up on the screen right now. But yeah, Daniel's a real G. This is his new book. I don't know if it's out yet, but give it a quick Google, Scorecard Marketing. this is the one that kind of shot him into like super gangster status, key person of influence, and oversubscribed. Is basically not only a brilliant book, but it's almost like a business plan. It's a philosophy and a way of doing business about how you skew more demand for your business, and you make sure that the demand supply curve is always more towards demand. And then there's another book called 24 Assets as well, which is basically a very practical checklist of how to build a modern business. Got a chance to kick it with him today. We went up to Dubai Eye. Oh, super big ups to Richard Dean, Tom Urquhart, and the third presenter, Brandy Scott. Got to meet her for the first time today. So yeah, he went up there just around 7 and did an interview on there. It was a really cool interview. We'll also point to it on one of our socials as time goes on. And he also left us with a bunch of books. So we'll have him jump on with a video pre-record on one of the future episodes. So you can get one of those books if you're in Dubai. And yeah, man, Spotify gang, 5-star rating and review would be super appreciated. Anything else you guys want to say on the pod?
No, not
Nothing
at all, man.
specific.
Sal,
This
thank
one
you.
was
I want to say thank you to Sal for jumping on the pod.
Appreciate you guys having me on, man. I think it's the first time I've been on a podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna have a rotating hot seat for the folks that are on the editorial team to jump on, and we're also gonna be announcing soon some special correspondents that will be checking in. Actually, the idea for you, Sal, was to have you on as a special correspondent just for the 50 thing and the hotel stuff. I'm glad you stayed on the show and rocked with us all the way through. I'm glad you liked it. And wicked, man, we'll have you on again in the future. Thanks so much for supporting the show. Alex, can we have a chat this week about an outro music?
We can.
Okay, hopefully we'll have one ready in the next couple of episodes. Much love, everyone. See you on the next episode. Peace.